The silent preparation. The Galactic Concordat's assessment of Earth was simple, primitive, inefficient, harmless. Their massive ships would occasionally drift through the Sol system, their crews barely acknowledging the blue planet's existence, except to log routine reports about its disappointing lack of progress. For 3 centuries, they watched Earth's seemingly chaotic development with mild amusement. The humans still used chemical rockets. Their space stations were crude. Their attempts at terraforming Mars were proceeding at what the Concordat considered a laughably slow pace. The massive alien federation had categorized Earth as a Category 4 developing world, a designation that meant they weren't even worth considering for membership for at least another millennium. What the Concordat couldn't know, was that their every visit was meticulously recorded, analyzed, and studied, deep beneath the ice sheets of Antarctica, in a facility known only to a select few. The United Earth Defense Initiative had been watching the Watchers. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display of the latest Concordat vessel to pass through their system. Her dark eyes reflected the blue glow of the massive ship's schematics as they rotated before her. 20 years of studying their technology had led to this moment. "Their arrogance is our greatest advantage," she said to the assembled council of military and scientific leaders. "They believe their quantum detection systems are infallible. They've never needed to develop anything better." General Marcus Rodriguez, his weathered face bearing the scars of the Mars colonial wars, nodded slowly. "And you're certain the Phantom Drive works? Not just in simulations, but in actual space?" Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "The Artemis completed its test run to Pluto and back last week. They passed within 50 meters of a Concordat patrol ship. Nothing. Not a single sensor ping." The room fell silent. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't just theoretical anymore. They had created what the Concordat had deemed impossible, a drive system that bent light and gravity around ships in ways that made them truly invisible to all known forms of detection. But the Phantom Drive was just the beginning. While the Concordat saw Earth's public space program as primitive, they never questioned why such an inefficient species needed so much titanium and rare earth elements. They never wondered why the lunar mines seemed to produce so much more than Earth's visible infrastructure could account for. Deep within asteroid bases and hidden lunar facilities, Earth had been building. Not the crude ships the Concordat occasionally observed, but vessels that incorporated 3 centuries of studying alien technology combined with human innovation. Each ship was a hybrid of reverse-engineered Concordat technology and unique human developments they had never seen coming. Admiral Helena Wright, commander of Earth's Hidden Fleet, stepped forward. "The Concordat's latest survey suggests they're considering establishing a permanent observation post in our system. They want to study our primitive development more closely." She paused, letting the irony sink in. "I believe it's time we showed them exactly how primitive we aren't." The council chamber erupted in urgent discussion. For generations, they had waited, prepared, and built in absolute secrecy. The fleet was ready. 500 ships, each more advanced in certain ways than anything the Concordat possessed. But revealing themselves would change everything. There would be no going back. "We've intercepted their communications," Sarah added, pulling up another hologram. "They're not just curious anymore. Some factions within the Concordat are suggesting Earth might be useful as a protectorate, their polite term for colonization. They see our resources, our position in space, and they're getting ideas." General Rodriguez stood, his voice carrying the weight of command. "Then we don't have a choice. We either reveal ourselves on our terms, or we wait for them to decide our fate for us." He turned to Admiral Wright. "How soon can the fleet be ready?" "We can have all ships deployed within 72 hours. We've been running drills for this scenario for the past 5 years." Dr. Chen's holographic display shifted to show the positions of known Concordat vessels in nearby space. Their next major survey fleet is due to pass through the system in 2 weeks. 3 capital ships, standard escort complement. It would be the perfect opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities without threatening their core worlds. The Council voted unanimously. After centuries of hiding, of playing the primitive species, of building and preparing in absolute secrecy, humanity would finally show its true face to the galaxy. But they would do it their way, with every advantage they had so carefully cultivated. As the Council dispersed, Sarah remained, staring at the holographic ships dancing before her. She thought about all the generations of scientists and engineers who had worked in secret, who had died never seeing their work completed. They had sacrificed everything to give humanity this chance. The Concordat thought they knew everything about Earth. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. First Contact's aftermath. The Concordat survey fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system right on schedule. 3 massive ships, each stretching 20 kilometers from bow to stern, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight in rainbow patterns. To their crews, this was routine. Another boring survey of a backwater world. Fleet Commander Zixtal lounged in his command chair, his iridescent scales shifting colors with boredom. Standard approach pattern. Let's get these observations done quickly. I don't want to spend any more time in this system than we have to. His sensor officer, a junior member of their species, suddenly straightened. Commander, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from the direction of their moon. Probably another one of their crude fusion experiments. Zixtal waved a limb dismissively. Log it and. The officer's voice cracked. Sir, the readings. They're gone. Completely. As if something just swallowed them. That got Zixtal's attention. In 3 centuries of Concordat exploration, they had never encountered a phenomenon that could simply disappear from their quantum sensors. He was about to order a closer investigation when space itself seemed to ripple. Ships appeared. Not the clumsy vessels they were used to seeing from Earth, but sleek predators of space, their hulls covered in patterns that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. They emerged from nowhere, first dozens, then hundreds, arranged in a perfect sphere around the Concordat fleet. Admiral Helena Wright's voice broadcasted across all frequencies, in perfect Concordat standard. Attention Concordat survey fleet. This is Admiral Wright of the United Earth Defense Fleet. For centuries, you have watched us. Now, we invite you to see what you've been missing. Panic erupted on the Concordat bridges. Their sensors, finally adjusting, showed impossible readings. The Earth ships were using technology that shouldn't exist, configurations of quantum fields that Concordat scientists had deemed theoretical at best. Impossible, Zixtal whispered. They're primitives. They barely have space stations. On the bridge of the UES Nightshade, Admiral Wright allowed herself a small smile. Lieutenant Kim, demonstration pattern Alpha. Let's show them what primitive looks like. The Earth fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their phantom drives creating ripples in space-time that the Concordat sensors couldn't properly track. One moment they were surrounded, the next the Earth ships were between them, then behind them, then seemingly in multiple places at once. In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Chen watched the sensor feeds with satisfaction. The Phantom Drive is performing better than our simulations predicted. They literally can't track our ships unless we want them to. The demonstration continued for precisely 7 minutes. Earth's fleet performed maneuvers that the Concordat had believed physically impossible, their ships moving with a precision that made the aliens' best efforts look clumsy in comparison. Finally, Admiral Wright broadcast again. We trust this demonstration has been instructive. For generations, you have dismissed us as primitive while we studied, learned, and surpassed you in ways you never imagined. We are now formally requesting full diplomatic recognition from the Concordat, not as a protectorate, but as equals. The Concordat ships hung motionless in space, their crews still trying to process what they were seeing. Zixtal, to his credit, recovered quickly. By what authority do you make such demands? The Concordat has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. By the authority of achievement, Wright responded calmly. "We have mastered technologies you deemed impossible. We have built a fleet that can outmaneuver your best ships. And we have done it all while you watched and saw nothing. Imagine what else you might have missed." The threat was subtle but clear. Earth's ships hadn't fired a single shot, hadn't made a single aggressive move. They didn't have to. The mere fact of their existence, of their capabilities, had just rewritten the galaxy's balance of power. In the following hours, as the initial shock wore off, frantic communications flew between the survey fleet and the Concordat's central worlds. Emergency sessions were called. Military assessments were demanded. But the truth was undeniable. Humanity had changed the game. Dr. Chen watched the diplomatic chaos unfold with a mixture of pride and concern. "They'll try to learn our secrets," she said to no one in particular. "They'll want to know how we did it." General Rodriguez, who had quietly entered the command center, nodded. "Let them try. The Phantom Drive is just the beginning. Wait until they see what else we've been working on." The game had changed, but it was far from over. Humanity had revealed itself, but they had revealed exactly what they wanted to, no more, no less. And in the depths of their hidden facilities, research continued, new technologies were being developed, and humanity prepared for whatever came next. The galaxy would never be the same. And Earth was ready. The Battle of Neptune's Ring. The peace lasted exactly 27 days. Despite humanity's impressive technological display, or perhaps because of it, there were those within the Concordat who couldn't accept the new reality. The hardline faction, led by Supreme Commander Vexthor, saw only one solution: crush Earth's upstart fleet before they could reveal any more surprises. The attack came through Neptune's rings. A Concordat battle fleet, not survey ships this time, but real warships, emerged from hyperspace using the ice particles as cover. 300 vessels, including 5 dreadnoughts, each carrying enough firepower to glass a continent. In the Antarctic Command Center, alarms blared. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across holographic displays. "They're using the ring particles to scatter our quantum sensors." Clever. She didn't sound worried, merely impressed, but not clever enough. What the Concordat didn't know was that every single ice particle in Neptune's rings had been quietly replaced over the last century, not with simple ice, but with microscopic quantum sensors. Earth had turned the entire ring system into one massive detection grid. Admiral Wright's voice was steady as she addressed the fleet. "All ships, execute Operation Avalanche. Show them why you don't bring a dreadnought to an asteroid field." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Concordat fleet, confident in their superior numbers and firepower, pushed forward in traditional attack formation. Their first indication that something was wrong came when Neptune's rings began to move. Thousands of ice particles suddenly changed course, revealing themselves as miniature autonomous drones. Each one was barely larger than a human hand, but they moved with purpose, swarming around Concordat ships like angry insects. "They're not weapons," Dr. Chen explained to the watching generals. "They're quantum anchor points. Watch." The true attack came moments later. Earth's fleet emerged from their Phantom Drive cloaks, but not as individual ships. They appeared in groups of 5, each group linked by quantum fields channeled through the drone swarms. Energy flowed between the ships in impossible patterns. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, aboard the UES Nightshade, initiated the first synchronized strike. Quantum link established, initiating power transfer. 5 Earth ships, working as one, channeled their combined energy through the quantum network created by the drones. The result was a weapon that shouldn't have been possible, a gravitational lance that cut through a Concordat dreadnought's shields as if they didn't exist. The Concordat responded with overwhelming firepower, but their massive energy weapons found only empty space. Earth's ships phased in and out of normal space-time, using their phantom drives not just for stealth, but for tactical movement in ways the Concordat had never imagined. They're still thinking in terms of traditional space warfare. General Rodriguez observed. "They don't understand that we've changed the rules entirely." The battle shifted as the Concordat fleet tried to adapt. They attempted to target the drone swarms, but for every drone they destroyed, 10 more emerged from the ring system. Their attempts to predict where Earth's ships would appear failed as the quantum linking allowed entire squadrons to appear simultaneously at multiple points in space. Supreme Commander Vexthor, watching his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled, finally understood. Earth hadn't just developed new technology. They had fundamentally reimagined how space combat worked. His ships were fighting like battleships against schools of piranha that could teleport. "Full retreat," he ordered, but even that proved difficult. The quantum anchor points created by the drones disrupted their hyperspace calculations. Each ship had to be precisely targeted and extracted from the battlefield, a process that took precious time they didn't have. In the end, of the 300 ships that had arrived to teach humanity a lesson, only 87 managed to escape. The rest were either disabled by precision strikes or forced to surrender as their power systems were systematically isolated by the drone swarms. Admiral Wright surveyed the aftermath from her command deck. Disabled Concordat ships floated amid the glittering ice particles of Neptune's rings, their crews being safely evacuated by Earth rescue vessels. Not a single ship had been destroyed. There had been no need. "Send word to the Concordat High Command," she ordered. "The same message as before. We seek recognition and peace as equals, but make sure they understand. This was us being gentle." In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Chen was already analyzing the battle data. The quantum linking performed better than expected, and the drone swarm's adaptive algorithms exceeded all projections. "Will they try again?" General Rodriguez asked. "Almost certainly," she replied. "But not soon, and not like this. They'll need time to study what happened here, to try to understand how we did it. And by then..." She gestured to a secure display showing the next generation of Earth's quantum technology already under development. The Phantom Drive had just been the beginning. Humanity had spent centuries preparing not just weapons and defenses, but entirely new ways of thinking about space, time, and warfare itself. The galaxy was changing, and Earth was leading that change. The Battle of Neptune's Ring would be remembered not just as a military victory, but as the moment when the old rules of space warfare became obsolete. Behind enemy lines, the Concordat's central archive world, Nexus Prime, had never been breached in its 1,000-year history. Its defenses were considered impenetrable. 3 planetary rings of quantum detection satellites, perpetual space-time disruption fields, and a fleet of 500 ships on constant patrol. It was here that the Concordat kept its most precious secrets, including, they hoped, the key to understanding and countering Earth's mysterious technology. They never saw Commander Maya Patel's ship slip through their defenses. The UEA's Shadow Whisper, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, passed through the outer defense ring as easily as walking through mist. Inside the ship's quantum-shielded bridge, Maya watched the massive archive complex growing larger on her screens. Her small crew of 5 represented the elite of Earth's Covert Operations Division. Their analysts have been working nonstop since Neptune. Dr. Chen's voice came through their secure quantum channel, impossibly clear despite the light years of distance. They're getting closer to understanding the basic principles of the Phantom Drive. We need to know how close. Maya's mission was simple in concept, nearly impossible in execution. Infiltrate the most secure facility in Concordat space, access their classified research data, and get out without leaving a trace. Just another day at the office for someone who had spent the last 15 years running covert ops with experimental technology. Beginning final approach, Lieutenant Raj Kumar reported from the pilot station. Quantum field is stable. We're completely invisible to their sensors. The Shadow Whisper wasn't just using the standard Phantom Drive technology. It was equipped with the prototype Mark II system, capable of bending not just light and gravity, but the fundamental forces of reality itself. The ship didn't just avoid detection. It existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, simultaneously there and not there. They landed in a maintenance dock, their ship's adaptive camouflage making it appear as nothing more than a shadow among the machinery. Maya led her team out, their stealth suits incorporating the same technology on a personal scale. Remember, she briefed them one final time. We're not here to sabotage or destroy. This is pure intelligence gathering. The Concordat needs to know we can reach them anywhere, but not that we have. The team moved through the facility like ghosts. Their quantum interfaces allowed them to see through walls, predict patrol patterns, and avoid security systems that the Concordat believed were foolproof. Years of studying Concordat technology had taught humanity not just how to counter it, but how to exploit its fundamental assumptions. In the central data core, Maya watched as their quantum decryption specialist, Dr. James Chen, no relation to their Antarctic base commander, interfaced with the Concordat systems. His fingers danced over holographic controls as he sifted through petabytes of classified research data. They're brilliant in their own way, he muttered as he worked. But they're trapped by their own certainties. They keep trying to understand our technology through their scientific framework. They can't accept that we approached the problem from a completely different direction. The infiltration was going perfectly, too perfectly, Maya thought. Her instincts, honed by years of covert operations, tingled. Something felt wrong. She was right. A junior Concordat researcher, working late in a nearby lab, happened to be testing a new kind of quantum detection system, one that worked on principles even Earth hadn't considered. For just a fraction of a second, he detected something impossible, a fluctuation in reality itself. Alarms screamed to life. Not the normal intruder alerts, but something deeper, more primal. The entire facility began to shift, implementing security protocols that had never been needed before. Time to go, Maya announced calmly. Dr. Chen, do you have what we need? Downloading now. 30 seconds. Security forces converged on their position, but they were fighting an enemy they couldn't see or detect reliably. The few glimpses they caught of the intruders seemed to defy reality. Human shapes that existed in multiple places simultaneously, that passed through solid walls, that appeared and disappeared like quantum ghosts. The team made it back to their ship with seconds to spare. As they lifted off, Maya allowed herself a small smile. The Concordat would find nothing. No evidence of how they got in, no traces of what they accessed, nothing except the certainty that their most secure facility had been compromised. Mission accomplished, she reported as they slipped back into deep space. Though I think we've lost the element of complete surprise with the Mark I system. That's all right, Dr. Chen replied from Earth. The Mark III is already in testing. But more importantly, we now know exactly how close they are to understanding our technology. And, Maya asked, not close at all. They're still looking at it backward. They keep trying to detect our ships, instead of asking themselves why they believe detection is even possible in the first place. The shadow whisper vanished into the depths of space, leaving behind a very shaken Concordat. Their most secure facility had been penetrated as easily as if its defenses hadn't existed. Worse, they had no idea what the humans had learned, what they had accessed, or how many other times this might have happened without them knowing. The message was clear. Nowhere in their empire was truly secure. The humans could reach them anywhere, at any time, and there was nothing they could do about it. A new era dawns. The Concordat High Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 1,000 worlds argued as reports from Nexus Prime filtered in. The impenetrable had been penetrated. The impossible had become possible. And humanity, the species they had dismissed for centuries, stood at the center of it all. High Counselor Zentvar, oldest and wisest of the Concordat leadership, raised his crystalline staff for silence. We face a choice. His voice resonated through the chamber. Continue a conflict we cannot win, or embrace a future we never imagined. On Earth, in the depths of the Antarctic Command Center, humanity's leadership faced similar discussions. Dr. Chen presented her final analysis of the Nexus Prime data. They're beginning to understand, not our technology, but their own limitations. The Concordat built their civilization on the assumption that certain things were impossible. We proved those assumptions wrong. Admiral Wright, recently returned from the Neptune defense line, nodded. And now they know we could have revealed ourselves at any time over the past century. We chose our moment. The quantum communication system activated, displaying a live connection to the Concordat High Council. It was time for the final act in humanity's carefully orchestrated emergence onto the galactic stage. General Rodriguez stepped forward to address both Earth's leadership and the Concordat Council simultaneously. For centuries, you watched us, thinking you saw everything. You saw our public space program, our clumsy rockets, our primitive satellites. But that was just the surface. Beneath it, we were watching you, learning from you, and surpassing you. He gestured, and holographic displays activated in both chambers, showing technology Earth had never revealed before. Not weapons or ships, but medical breakthroughs, environmental restoration techniques, and quantum communication systems that made the Concordat's fastest networks seem sluggish. We developed the Phantom Drive not because we wanted to hide, Dr. Chen continued, but because we questioned the fundamental nature of detection itself. While you built bigger sensors, we asked ourselves why anything needed to be detectable at all. The displays showed more, terraforming techniques that could transform dead worlds in decades rather than centuries, energy systems that drew power from the quantum fabric of space itself, and medical technology that could potentially extend lifespans by hundreds of years. This is our proposal, Admiral Wright announced. Not surrender, not dominance, but partnership. Earth doesn't seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to change it, to push beyond the boundaries of what everyone thought was possible. The chamber fell silent as she continued. The Battle of Neptune's ring proved we could fight you. The infiltration of Nexus Prime proved we could reach you anywhere. But that's not why we revealed ourselves. We revealed ourselves because the galaxy is larger than any of us imagined, and there are mysteries even humanity hasn't solved yet. High Counselor Zenithar studied the humans thoughtfully. You offer partnership now, after demonstrating you could potentially destroy us. We offer partnership because destruction is easy, Dr. Chen replied. Creation, true creation, pushing the boundaries of science and understanding. That's difficult, and it's better done together. The negotiations that followed would reshape the galaxy. Earth's technologies were gradually shared, but more importantly, Earth's way of thinking began to spread. The Concordat scientists learned to question their basic assumptions. Humanity's habit of asking, why not, instead of simply accepting limitations, began to influence research across 1,000 worlds. In the Antarctic Command Center, now expanded into a major diplomatic hub, Dr. Chen watched the sun rise over the ice. They still don't know everything, she mused to General Rodriguez. The Mark I Phantom Drive, the quantum consciousness research, the dimensional exploration projects. They'll learn, he replied, when they're ready, when they understand that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than anyone imagined. A year after the Nexus Prime infiltration, the first joint human Concordat research facility opened in orbit around Jupiter. Ships from across the galaxy came to study, to learn, and to question everything they thought they knew. Earth had emerged not just as a technological power, but as a philosophical one, teaching the galaxy not just new answers, but new ways to ask questions. The ancient Concordat had believed they understood the universe. Humanity showed them that understanding was just the beginning. A new age of exploration and discovery dawned, led by a species that had spent centuries pretending to be primitive while they revolutionized the very nature of what was possible. And somewhere in the depths of space, the UES Shadow Whisper continued its mission, carrying humanity's most advanced technology and boldest dreamers to the edges of known space. Because even now, with all they had achieved, Earth's greatest minds kept asking the same question that had driven them from the beginning. What else is possible? The end.